Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. It is great to be back with you again today on this second day of April, year of our Lord 2025. We're in Revelation and it's getting fun, isn't it? Scott, I appreciate your comments there and all of you. Yes, I am encouraged. I don't mind disagreement and debate. We are not going to see all things alike, especially in prophecy. And what is most heartening to me is those of you that are showing up here in the daily videos and chat. It is clear to me you all are diving in, studying. You're willing to entertain ideas that you didn't come to the text with. You're willing to be wrong, as I am. And that encourages me. That's what we're all striving to do here and wrestling back and forth. So yeah, I'm not discouraged at all. You know, the commenters, so many that fly in, sometimes I'm pretty sure all they do is read the thumbnail and then they make a comment. And where I get, well, I don't even get frustrated because I don't give it much time, but the commenters after the fact, so many of them are arrogant and narrow-minded and obviously are never going to learn anything because they're not interested in truth. They're interested in defending their position. But I'm very encouraged by all of you that come day after day after day and wrestle through this. And hey, Dale has been persuaded that this is Rome, so how could I not be encouraged by that? No, it's all good. It's all really good. So glad that you're here. So we're going to pick up in verse 19 of chapter 16, and we're going to see this woman and the city and so on. And I just want to remind you again of the framing of what I think we're seeing going forward. I think for the next couple of chapters or so, the focus is on the fall of Rome in the first century after the destruction of Jerusalem. And the reason that I see the city and the woman, all this, like I do is, let me just fast forward. We'll get to some of this today, but he's going to go and say, the woman that you saw is the great city, right? So that is framing how I understand where we're heading. The woman is the great city. Now, let me use that statement to remind you of something when dealing with prophecy. I have put to you in the past what I call the Emmanuel principle. Remember that? That when God gives a prophecy in the scripture, sometimes part of what he says is fulfilled what we would call literally. Now, someone brought this up the other day. I'm using literally in the in sort of the common use of it. I understand there is a more strict use of it, in which case all of prophecy and everything in the Bible is literal. But what most people mean by literal is this. When it says a virgin will be with child, the, quote, literal interpretation is there will be a woman who has never had sexual relations with a man, and she will be pregnant even without knowing a man. Okay? So the Emmanuel principle is that sometimes when it says something like the virgin will be with child, that's exactly what happened. But then the same passage says his name will be called Emmanuel. Well, using the same standard of interpretation as the first part, for that to be fulfilled, quote, literally, then when that virgin gives birth, then the name given to that child would be Emmanuel. We know that that child came into this world via a virgin named Mary, but his name was not Emmanuel. His name was Jesus. And Jesus does not mean the same thing as Emmanuel. Jesus means Yahweh saves. Emmanuel means God with us. Right? Two different names, two different meanings. So what do we do with the prophecy that his name shall be called Emmanuel? Well, we understand, and Kathy's right on it, we understand that some prophecies are what I'm calling directionally true. It's giving us impressions. It's giving us concepts of what's going to happen. And we need to look at the fulfillments, or whenever the scripture gives us the meaning, that's where we need to land and not get too caught up in the images. So to come back here to where I was in Revelation, look, the woman that you saw is the great city. Pause, time out. Wait a minute. Is it a woman or is it a city? Maybe it's neither. Do you see the point? Earlier, and again, we'll get there, in this vision, John sees a woman. And now the angel is saying that woman is the great city. Is it actually a city? Well, maybe, but we have to continue to think through what is the direction of this? What is intended to be communicated, and not get caught up in all the imagery, because the imagery goes all over the place. Revelation mixes metaphors like crazy. The beast. I've probably made too much of the beast being Rome, because you start drawing associations there that get us away from the direction of the text. Okay, so the woman you saw is the great city that is having reign over the kings of the earth. Right, so I'm convinced this is in the direction of the Roman Empire. Okay. After these things, I saw another messenger coming down out of heaven, having great authority, and the earth was lightened from his glory. And he cried in might with a great voice, saying, Fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great. So for my money, which city is the great city? Here it's Babylon. And as I've tried to show you, I'm convinced Babylon represents Rome or the Roman Empire. Again, I don't want to get too narrow, but it's not Jerusalem, in my opinion. And I see George is here disagreeing. That's fine. I just told you yesterday I'm not going to debate that further. I'm convinced it's Rome. That's how I'm going to present it going forward. All right. So back to 1619. We just saw, in my opinion, my view here, the fall of Jerusalem. That's the seventh angel pours out his bowl. There's this great voice from heaven, from the temple, saying, It is done. There came voices, thunders, lightnings, great earthquake, such as not come since men came on the earth, so mighty an earthquake, so great. And I showed you a couple days ago why I believe all of that points to the fall of Jerusalem, the curses of the old covenant, etc. Now, so we could say, going back to earlier verses in the beginning of Revelation, I'm going to show you, the angel said to John, the things that are and the things that must come after these things. I think we're now switching to the things that come after, meaning God's judgment on the Roman Empire. So it came about the great city, which I now believe is Babylon because of this next phrase here. I acknowledge earlier and later the great city is Jerusalem, but here I believe it's Rome. So literally this reads, and the great city came into three parts, and the cities of the nations fell, and Babylon the Great was remembered before God. All three of those statements, I believe, are in parallel. Okay, so now, at this point, the great city came into three parts. That is a sense of disintegration, right? It's divided. Think of Jesus saying, kingdom divided against itself cannot stand. Now, I'm not suggesting that there's a parallel there. I'm just saying in concept, right? That's the idea. If a kingdom is not united, it's going to fall. Well, same idea here. This great city now comes into three parts. There's cracks in the foundation. John is seeing this great city that is going to be split. And the cities of the nations fell. Again, I'm going back to Daniel 2, that last kingdom, that fourth kingdom, the lower part of that statue's body, which is the powerful one with the mixed iron and clay and all that it's going to disintegrate because the kingdom of God is going to come crush it. So the cities of the nations fell as this great city falls into three parts. And Babylon the Great was remembered before God. God now remembers. Now, we know that God doesn't forget things. That's not the point. But now this phrasing is God is remembering to bring his judgment on Babylon, to give to her the cup of the wine of the wrath of his anger. And we looked extensively a few days ago, forget, maybe last week, at Jeremiah, where Babylon was the enemy of the people, and the same kind of language was used of Babylon then, and I think it now applies to Rome. And every island fled away, and mountains were not found. Similar apocalyptic language for great destruction of a nation, that kind of thing. We've seen this already. And great hail, as of talent weight, huge hailstones, comes down out of the sky on men, and men slandered or blasphemed God because of the plague of the hail, because its plague is very great. So God's bringing these great plagues down on Babylon. Okay. So then there came one of the seven messengers. Sorry, I was trying to decide if I was going to go somewhere else with that, but I'm not. And there came one of the seven messengers, or seven angels, who were having the seven bowls. Remember, he's already seen these seven angels with the seven bowls of wrath, who were having the seven bowls. And he spoke with me, saying, "Come, I will show you the judgment of the great whore." Right now, this is Babylon coming up. Fallen is Babylon the Great, because all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her whoredom. So now the image shifts to this great whore, and God is going to judge her. Well, he just laid the foundation for that. Babylon is going to drink the cup of the wine of God's wrath, and God's going to send these massive hailstorms down and destroy Babylon. And now the image changes. I'm going to show you this great whore who is sitting on many waters. Okay, so now the image he sees is this woman, and she's sitting on many waters, and the kings of the earth committed whoredom with her. So the cities of nations are going to fall. That's what John sees here. They fell here. And now he's zooming in, and all these kings paid this woman for her pleasures. Right? That's the imagery here. And those inhabiting the earth were made drunk from the wine of her whoredom. So this woman who's sitting on many waters comes and sells herself to all the kings of the earth, and they were happy to pay her for her pleasures. And again, do you see all the mixed metaphors? Is this a woman? Is this a city? Is she really sitting on waters? How do you sit on water? And they are drunk from the wine of her whoredom. You don't drink whoredom. So we're just trying to sort through all of these images to get the idea. They have purchased from this woman pleasure that is offensive to God. And he carried me away to a wilderness in the spirit, and I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet-covered beast. So Is the woman sitting on waters, or is she sitting on a beast? Well, she's not sitting on any of them. This is all imagery pushing us toward some understanding. So this woman is sitting on a scarlet colored beast, or a red beast. Where have we seen scarlet colored so far? Do you remember? The dragon. Remember in chapter 12? I saw another sign in the sky, and behold, a great fire-colored dragon. That's red. It's not exactly the same word, but it's the idea: red, scarlet, red. So I see this woman sitting on a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of slander, having 7 heads and 10 horns. All of this going back to Daniel chapter 7, that 4th beast in Daniel 7 has heads and horns like this. And so this woman is sitting on this red beast that has 7 heads and horns. And the woman was clothed with purple and scarlet color, and gilded with gold and precious stone and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and uncleanness in her whoredom. So she's rich. You know, purple may indicate royalty, but it certainly indicates great wealth. And her clothes are red, just like the beast is red. We'll come back and consider another possibility there in a minute. She's got gold, precious stone, pearls. She has a golden cup in her hand, and in that cup is abominations, or are abominations and uncleanness of her whoredom. So what is she selling to all the kings of the earth? She's selling riches and wealth and so on. Now, is that metaphorical? Maybe. Again, we're still dealing with so many images, but I'm guessing that's closer to literal, so to speak. And on her forehead, how many times have we seen that in Revelation? Right? Something written on someone's forehead. So on this woman's forehead is a name. And what's the name? Mystery. Mystery. It says here secret, and we've been over this before. Secret is fine from the standpoint of it being hidden, right? A secret is something that is not known. But the Greek word is mysterion, which comes right over transliterated as mystery. And a mystery, remember, is something that was hidden that has now been revealed. So this woman has on her forehead a name that is written, and it's something that was hidden that's now been revealed: Babylon the Great, the mother of the whores and the abominations of the earth. So this woman represents the city, Babylon the Great, and she's called the mother of whores. That's an expression we find in the Bible. We find it even in our own day. The mother of all tariffs, to use a modern analogy. Trump is today going to reveal the mother of all tariffs as he tariffs everybody equally, that kind of thing. Whatever, you get the point. And the abominations of the earth. Remember, she's got this golden cup that is full of abominations and uncleanness. So all of these images are expressing this great city, this woman riding on a beast, this woman who's sitting on the waters, with whom all the kings of the earth are committing whoredom. All of this is describing just great, great evil with the nations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken from the blood of the holy ones and from the blood of the witnesses of Jesus. I wonder if that's the connection with the scarlet color. it could be there's an association both ways. The red beast. Remember what we saw the red beast was going to do? Where did I? There it is. This great fire-colored dragon. I misspoke a second ago. Not beast, dragon. The great dragon, the fire-colored, the red dragon. He tries to get the child that's born to the woman, and when he can't, it says, when the dragon, where is it? Here we go. And the dragon was angry against the woman. Now, this is a different woman. This is the woman that gave birth to the Messiah. The dragon was angry against the woman and went away to make war with the rest of her seed, those keeping the commands of God and having the testimony of Jesus. So this red dragon is at war with the woman's seed. And who is that seed? Those who obey God and testify of Jesus. Same kind of imagery here. Do you see it? The woman is drunken from the blood of the holy ones and from the blood of the witnesses of Jesus. So I just wonder if the beast and the woman, if all the scarlet discussion the redness has to do with drinking the blood of the saints and those who witness to Christ. Interesting, I think. And John's wondering at this. Right? He saw her and he is filled with great wonder. That this is a good rendering of the Greek. And I wondered with great wonder. This has his attention. This has really arrested him. He's moved by this vision of this woman drunk from the blood of the holy ones and the witnesses of Jesus. And the messenger said to me, "For this reason did you wonder? I will tell you the secret or the mystery of the woman and of the beast that is carrying her, which has the 7 heads and 10 horns." All right, so we all want to know, who is the woman and who is the beast? This beast that has 7 heads and 10 horns. You're marveling at this. You are in awe, John, over seeing this woman who's drunken with the blood of the saints, the witnesses of Jesus. Well, I'll tell you. I'll reveal the mystery to you. The beast that you saw, it is not, and it is about to come up out of the abyss and to go away to destruction. And those dwelling on the earth will wonder, those whose names have not been written on the scroll of life from the foundation of the world, beholding the beast that was and is not, although it is. That's a decent rendering. This is kind of tough in the Greek. The one is not and is present kind of thing. So the beast you saw, it is not. It's about to come out of the abyss. Again, going back to previous visions, the beast was coming up out of the abyss and was going to go rouse kings to attack Jerusalem, which I told you then, I think that was the beast coming, bringing Rome against Jerusalem. And it is not. This certainly conjures up images of the Nero Redivivus theory that we talked about before. The idea of Nero died in, was it 68 AD? Now all the dates are getting fuzzy in my head. I think it was 68. He died, and the legend grew that he had resurrected and or was going to return from the east. And some even came forward claiming to be Nero, resurrected kind of thing. And so it's eerily similar that John here is being told something like that, kind of keeping the drawing in the myth of what they understood to be the case. It could be something else altogether, but the idea is this beast, it's not, it's about to come up out of the abyss, and then it goes away to destruction. It's going to fall. See that? The beast's days are numbered. And those dwelling on the earth whose names have not been written in the scroll of life, we've seen that before. We will see it again. This is usually translated book of life. So those who do not follow the Lamb, those who do not believe in the Lord Jesus and serve him, they are going to be full of wonder at this beast who's about to come up out of the abyss and then who goes away to destruction. I think the emphasis is they're going to be amazed that this mighty beast can fall, which fits Rome perfectly for me, in my mind. Here is the mind that is having wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits. Okay, wait a minute. Does the woman sit on water? Is she sitting on the beast? Or is she sitting on 7 mountains? How many mountains can one woman sit on? You see what I'm getting at? We have to not get too narrow in our grabbing an image and assuming something about it. So think, he says, here's the mind that's having wisdom. The beast that has 7 heads, these are the 7 mountains. The woman sits on the 7 mountains. The woman who is identified as the great city, Babylon the Great. So Babylon the Great sits on 7 mountains. That's Rome. And there are 7 kings. 5 fell. 1 is, the other did not yet come. And when he may come, it is necessary for him to remain a short time. This, I'm not going to do it now because we've been over it enough, but if you go back and look at the prophecies in Daniel 7 and so on, you're going to see the same kind of imagery. It's not a one-to-one connection, but it's very, very similar. Plucking up 3 horns and those kind of things. So John is being told that there are 7 kings. 5 of them have already fallen. 1 is, I would assume that's the emperor at the time of John receiving this. And there's another one that hasn't come yet. And when he come, it is necessary for him to remain a short time. And the beast that was and is not, he's also the 8th. So here we have a beast that is tied to this 8th king. And he is out of the 7. He goes away to destruction. Now, I've told you before, there are several theories about the order of these kings and all that. And several of them are pretty strong arguments, in my opinion. I'm not going to give you one because there are just too many variables. I can't prove anything. I like the idea of this 8th one being Nero because I believe that is one of the beasts we saw earlier. And it fits with the going away and coming back and all this. But again, I'm not going to try to prove anything. But you can look it up, ask your favorite AI, mine being Grok, and just ask it something like, make the case from Revelation 17 that these kings are Roman emperors and see the different theories out there. I think it's worth considering. All right, so he goes out of the 7, he goes away to destruction, and the 10 horns that you saw are 10 kings who did not yet receive a kingdom. Okay? These aren't previous kings. These are coming kings. That's why I keep saying this is looking after the fact in the 1st century. Do you see that? This is why I told you a long time ago, for much of our study so far, I've got preterists amening and cheering and thanking me, and this is great, this is great, this is great. And I said, well, hold on, you're not going to be happy all the way through, because I'm convinced some of this points to post 70 AD stuff. And this is one of the reasons why, and it just screams at me, the 10 horns that you saw are 10 kings who did not yet receive a kingdom. This is not about Jerusalem. This is about what is coming from the Roman emperors on Christians in the ensuing generations and centuries after 70 AD. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years like to our day. You know, I'm not a futurist or an idealist. I don't see any of this. Is 10 kings of the Roman Empire. You saw 10 who did not receive a kingdom, but receive authority as kings 1 hour with the beast. And again, I don't know if it's literal, I don't know if it's exactly 10 kings. I'm just saying they haven't yet received a kingdom. So these are coming horns. They're going to do battle and make war with the saints. These have one mind, and they will give over their own power and authority to the beast. The beast, remember, this is why I said earlier I may have overemphasized the beast being Rome, because actually the beast often represents the demonic force or just a supernatural image, or rather than the literal, right? So these kings are giving their power over to the beast. So maybe largely the Roman Empire kind of thing, but don't get too caught up in the actual terminology. And these will make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb will overcome them, because he is Lord of lords and King of kings. Okay? So the beast and these kings are going to make war with the Lamb. Well, how are they going to make war with the Lamb? By attacking his people, the holy ones, the saints. But the Lamb we know is going to overcome. The Lamb, we haven't heard from the Lamb for a while. Go back to the early chapters, right? The Lamb who sits on the throne, he will overcome these beasts because he's Lord of lords. Are they lords? Yes, but he's their Lord. Are they kings? Absolutely. But he's their king. And I love this section, getting back to what we saw earlier. Let me just double check here the tense to make sure that I get this right. He will overcome, or he will conquer. This is another form of the same word that we saw all through the letters to the 7 churches. Those who overcome, those who conquer, right? The Lamb is going to overcome or conquer these kings because he's Lord of lords and Kings of kings, and those with him, called, chosen, and steadfast or faithful. I find that intriguing because on the one hand, that could be those who are at war on earth, right? So as the Roman kings attack the saints, it could be that the called, chosen, and steadfast are those. Based on what we saw in the letters to the 7 churches, I also wonder, could it be describing those with him, meaning they will sit with him? Remember we saw that? Those who overcome will sit with him on his throne, ruling the nations with a rod of iron. Those are the called, chosen, and steadfast. They are with him in heaven, conquering Rome. That's what makes sense to me. And he says to me, the waters that you saw, where the whore sits, are peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. So this whore, this woman, is the one who sits on waters. She is sitting on peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. That's not Jerusalem, folks. Jerusalem did not have power, did not have influence. And as we'll see in chapter 18, she didn't make the nations of the earth rich. No, this is Rome. Remember, she's sitting on the beast. She's sitting on mountains, the 7 mountains. She's sitting on waters, the Mediterranean, right? I mean, it all fits. Peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues, and the 10 horns that you saw, and the beast, these will hate the whore. Now, that's where some of you say, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. It absolutely does if you know Roman history. Rome completely turned inward and on itself. There was civil war and infighting all the way along. I mean, right after Nero died, there's immediately this battle for the throne. And Vespasian, who was leading the army to attack Jerusalem, had to abandon the mission and turn it over to his son Titus because he had to go to Rome and he took the throne. And he had to do battle with other factions to get there. And the rest of the history of Rome and part of what led to its fall was this constant infighting. So this is not difficult to make sense of this. The 10 horns, the kings, the beast, they hate the whore and will make her desolate and naked and will eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Why? For God gave into their hearts to do his purpose and to make one purpose and to give their kingdom to the beast until the sayings of God may be fulfilled. And the woman that you saw is the great city that is having reign over the kings of the earth. This woman sits on waters. She sits on peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. She, this woman, this whore, reigns over the kings of the earth. She is the great city. The great city is this woman who reigns over the kings of the earth. And she is at war with the saints until God says enough. He put it into their hearts to do this until he said enough. Daniel 7, I beheld that the horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them until the Ancient of Days came and gave judgment to the saints of the Most High. And from that time on, the saints possessed the kingdom. Lord, the Lamb overcomes, and those with him, the saints. So Rome is going to have God's enabling to persecute the saints. Did I say that right? The Roman emperors were going to have God's enabling to persecute the saints until he says enough. And that's what we see here. All right, I know there's lots of chatter, lots of comments. Good. Let me just glance real quick and then we'll call it a day. Yep, I agree. In 11:8, the great city is definitely Jerusalem. I made that point when we were there. Wink says, the stumbling block seems to be that we assume everything is about Jerusalem and forget the judgment of Rome is a part of prophecy. Yeah, I think that's exactly what I'm arguing, if I'm understanding you correctly. Can't watch live. We'll watch later. Wanted to ask if Galatians 4:24-26 have anything to do with the woman in Revelation. Well, maybe later, but I'm hung up on the concept of have anything to do with. The New Jerusalem, the Jerusalem above, is what's referenced there in Galatians, and that same kind of imagery and language is used here in Revelation. So yes, we may talk about that more when we get to chapters 21 and 22. Yep, there's no doubt that I'm thirsty for truth that God called Israel or Jerusalem or Judah, whichever name you want, certainly called her a harlot, a prostitute, a whore, Absolutely. I'm not denying that for a second. That does not mean Revelation, when this woman is called a whore, that he's referring to Jerusalem. You see the point? Uh, I do not deny it's all over. It's God's favorite image for apostate Israel, is calling her a harlot. That does not mean Babylon or this woman is. Yeah, good deal. You followed up good. Ronald, that just does not follow. Whore does not mean someone you were married to. That's just a misunderstanding of the meaning of the term. Yeah, okay. Just quoting text where God calls Israel a harlot is irrelevant to my argument. Only Jerusalem filled the cup of abominations. Yeah, how can you possibly make that statement? Yep. Good, George. Yeah, the little season I'm not even a little bit persuaded by that view. And he says, if you count Julius as the first king, wouldn't that make the sixth one Nero, meaning John is receiving the revelation during Nero's reign? Yeah, that's one counting for sure. All right, Trekka agrees the beast is Rome. Scott says, you think Revelation is taking us through 476 AD approximately? I don't think we are. Well, I don't know. Again, that depends on how you count the kings and so on. I wouldn't take it that far. I'm not convinced the intent is to take it that specifically, but more what's coming for the people receiving this letter is persecution, in some cases, horrific persecution. Christians are going to die, but Rome will fall. And I wouldn't get more specific than that so far. Water's not wet. Not sure what that means. Yeah, George, maybe you're responding to somebody else, but I don't know what the synagogue thing has to do with anything. All right. Well, we will come back tomorrow and pick up in chapter 18. Is that right? Did we get through all of 17? We did. All right. Read ahead if you want. Give it some thought. We'll see you tomorrow. Grace and peace to you.